Hey, lady, it's been a long time. You're muted.
Yes, it has been. How are you?
Oh my gosh. Oh, geez. You haven't changed much.
Thank you.
Who's that crew behind you? Look like they're going boating somewhere in Wisconsin.
What's that?
The picture behind you, to your left.
That is some of my family. It was a vacation a couple years ago.
Some Wisconsin lake.
No, actually that was in Florida. We went to we did the whole family Disney World,
All that
Discovery
stuff.
Cove.
Oh,
Yeah. You know, you do it once and you're like, can we not do this ever again? type thing.
Exactly. I did it one time and they want to stay there all day long.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
yeah.
been there, done that. No, that's it. Got the experience.
I
Now
have
you
two
take your kids there.
nieces. Yep, I have two nieces, and they were both old enough to remember it and do it all. And we're like, yep, we're done. We're done.
We're done. Now we go to the beach with no agenda, right?
Exactly.
I know. They're meandering their way. I'm actually trying to figure out how to record this. There's some kids that aren't going to be here. They're trying with software,
That's all
so they
good.
can do their evaluation. Start. Let's go select more action. Record, transcribe. Okay. Okay, go down. Oh yeah. So, did you lose anybody in the cutbacks on your staff?
I did not actually.
Well, day-to-days weren't. Day-to-day interaction, they were fine. It's the ones that were like, you know.
And that's more or less what it was. If day-to-day athlete interaction, performance and health.
They were good.
Yep.
But when people who are like, okay, we can take your jobs and give them to somebody else and stack more hats on them and we can cut your salary.
Yeah.
Mark, Kevin and I spoke probably extensively.
Yeah, that was a tough one with him though.
Yeah, I mean, he's not valued on wins and losses by any means. I mean, his daughter now is the SID for women's basketball at Ole Miss.
Yeah, but the institutional experience and knowledge he has, I'm glad he landed on campus. I can't imagine him
that's
not.
why he'll always be connected. And if they need him for anything, Kevin's. I mean, I remember when he was a student.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he married Frank Broyles' second wife's daughter.
Gotcha.
The twins.
Yeah.
One of the triplets, and one of those triplets actually delivered my twins. So.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, there was two girls and one boy. One is the principal was at McNair. The other one is a judge's wife, and the other one, his wife is a counselor at Southwest. Okay, guys, we're at 5:30. Let me get started here. Let me hit this button. Hold on a second. Where's everybody else? There you go. We're team.
It is really bad.
Where's Keenan?
I think he should be here soon. There's a lot.
Okay. What time did y'all leave Mount Hebron?
5 o'clock.
Ooh, that's too late. Especially with the traffic. He should have left earlier. He didn't go eat, did he? Okay, well. Give me 1 second, Carl. I'm hitting this button.
You're good.
In your meeting control system. Options. Meetings. You gotta get wraps for those things, man. Those are gonna fall on the floor. Okay, let me just say up. I say raise. Do you know how to record a Teams by chance?
No, but
don't get me lying. Meetings control meetings.
I did that. So I'm on my iPad, and on the bottom corner, there's like the 3 dots, and on it says stop recording.
Okay, where now?
If you go to the bottom corner,
right or left? Right or left corner?
Bottom right for me. There's 3 little dots.
Yeah, he said that 3 little dots. I'm trying to find those. Let me minimize the screen.
Okay.
No, that's not going to help. Oh, where are those 3 little dots?
Mine's right next to the little phone thing, like the hang up, like the call hang up type thing.
Okay, hold on a second. I see the speaker. I see the. You mean the speaker or the actual looks like a little phone icon?
The phone icon. My 3 dots are right next to the phone icon.
Oh, so more. Hold on a second. I can see. Okay, record and transcribe. Okay, here we go. Record and transcribe. Timer, video effects, audio, and oh gosh. Wait a minute. I see the little phone. That's leave.
Mhm.
Oh, wait a minute. Stop recording, stop transition. Where is record? It's got stop, but where's the record? Here we go.
I think it is recording.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mine says it's recording and we're 5 minutes in.
Okay. All right, guys. Put your phones down. Isaac, switch over. Okay, guys, I'd like to introduce Carla Horsfall. Carla's a registered dietitian. Her title is, excuse me if I'm wrong. She's the Associate Athletic Director for Nutrition, Sport, Performance at the university. Her main responsibility right now in terms of athletes is in men's basketball and women's track. Carla, you have basketball players here as well as a baseball player. We are in the NCCAA, the National Christian College Athletic Association. I'm the athletic trainer. I'm also teaching 3 classes of sport management, anatomy and phys. We had Jackie Burning. I don't know if you know her. She's at University of Colorado Springs. She's an icon, but she's been with the Lewis Olympic Committee, for years as an RD. She kind of gave I've known her. Her son was in our program years ago, and she spoke. I mean, she's a department head of exercise science as well. She actually was the Denver Broncos RD, would take the guys to the grocery store, buy this. I mean, real grassroots. So I asked, and obviously, why did you become an RD? A day in the life, and then a lot of Q&A, which may lead into their, food you need to energize yourself throughout the day. Like I tell them, you still take the food to the players' classrooms anymore and drop it off?
Not too much. I mean, I think with the Sports Nutrition Center and stuff, they're pretty centrally located, so they're coming to us for the most part.
You still do the smoothie window?
Oh, you know it.
Oh gosh, oh gosh. I had the pleasure working with Carla when I was at the University of across the street, actually. We interacted with her in our program. So Carla, like I said, started out with, why did you become an RD? She came from Wisconsin and she worked with Razorback football. Now she's moved up administratively and takes care of Calipari's boys. But like I said, and Carla, they'll have some pretty serious questions about, what's going on with in your life in terms of your day to day, and then some specific questions about energizing and themselves throughout their hectic day. We have our first basketball game tomorrow. It's up in Branson. It's College of the Ozarks.
Okay.
Dr. Carla Horsfall.
All right, I can see like the tops of all of your heads. So there we go. Thank you. I was like, that's weird. Well, thanks, Jeff. Like he said, my name's Carla. I'm the Associate AD for Performance Nutrition at the University of Arkansas. Again, I'll kind of start with my background, but hopefully you guys, if you have questions as we get going, please interrupt me. This is year 16 for me in full-time working in athletics. The first 5.5 years was spent at the University of Wisconsin, and then I moved to Fayetteville in the fall of 2015. Why nutrition, or how I got into nutrition? I guess, I was a high school athlete, did not compete in college at all, but grew up in rural Wisconsin. So I knew when it came to future careers, I knew that I wanted to go into healthcare in some way, shape, or form. And being from rural Wisconsin, a really, really rural high school, honestly, at that point, I had really not had exposure to a lot of healthcare related fields outside of, doctors, nurses, and then a little bit of PT. I mean, even at that point, I think we had an athletic trainer that would come to our high school like maybe once a week. And that's if you had an injury or something, but minimal PT, minimal, things that supported the athletes in that sense. So going to college, I went to UW-Madison. The goal was to actually go PT because, again, that's kind of all that I had been exposed to. And then my freshman year of college, as I was working through some of the gen ed classes and working with more of a general allied health-esque advisor, that's when I kind of got exposed to nutrition and looking at the coursework and what the future potential jobs would be. It seemed like that was a better fit for me. So went that route. By my junior year in college, I actually got an opportunity to work as an undergrad like nutrition student in Wisconsin's athletic department, and that pretty much sealed the deal as far as working in sports. I kind of started that and didn't turn back and knew that that was pretty much all I was going to do. So I worked 3 years as an undergrad, doing a lot of the same things that our undergrad workforce does now here at Arkansas. So I did a lot of smoothies, stocked a lot of coolers, snack carts, things like that, and then would check athletes in for training table at the end of practice. And from there, upon graduating with my undergrad degree in nutrition, so that's one of the requirements, is you have to have a degree in nutrition or some related field. So at least having the core classes that are necessary for your DI. Knew I was going to stay in athletics. And at that time, so that would have been 2008, 2009, college athletics hadn't really taken off as far as sports nutrition goes yet. There weren't a lot of individuals that were working full time, but I was able to get a full-time job as a nutritionist at the University of Wisconsin. My boss, who had hired me, had left, and so they pretty much offered me that job, but I wasn't a dietitian yet. And so the agreement or the understanding was that Wisconsin was at a point where they wanted to start putting resources into their nutrition program. They wanted to start having more structure as it pertained to like nutrition education for our athletes, more supplement education for our athletes. And so being a nutritionist at the time, I could do a lot of that, but I couldn't do a lot of the clinical based work. So after working for a few years, getting Wisconsin's program up and going, we agreed that, you know, in order for me to best support our student athletes and to honestly just fulfill what my career goals were, I had to become a dietitian. And at the time, in order to be a dietitian, which this is still the case, you have to do a dietetic internship. And so what that is 1,200 supervised practice hours in various settings, including clinical, food service, community management, things like that. That then again, you have the supervised practice hours, and then when that's all completed, then you have to sit for the certification or licensure exam. So I did that. Took me about 7 months, which is quite quick in the nutrition world, but I knew I pretty much needed to get it done, wanted it done. Continued to work at Wisconsin for about another year, about that, maybe a year and a half. And then in that time, the NCAA deregulated food pretty much for student athletes. And what that did, or at least prior to, and it's called deregulation, is prior to that time, we as athletic departments were really limited in what we could provide our student athletes when it came to food. So we could only provide one meal a day, very limited snacks, and they were, you know, like, that was where like the fruit, nut, and bagel rule was in place. As far as nutritional supplement goes, we were very limited. And in 2014, the NCAA voted to pretty much deregulate, which meant now it was up to the university what we wanted to spend, what we wanted to allocate as far as nutrition goes. I was still at Wisconsin at the time, and quite frankly, it was, you know, when the Arkansas position opened up, I knew our football coach. I had worked with Coach Bielema at Wisconsin. I'd worked with a lot of his staff. Knew what Arkansas was trying to do as far as, you know, they built a brand new sports nutrition center. They were willing to take my suggestions as far as what a nutrition program needed to be. So I moved here. I've been here, like I said, just over 10 years now. Started a program with just me. So it was a one-man show as far as building the program up. But now we're to the point where we have 7 dietitians, a sports nutrition center, sports nutrition coordinator, and a whole staff of about 20 students that support our athletes on a day-to-day basis. Questions, thought?
Give me a typical day in the life of you when you go to work each day.
I am all over the place. So like I said, I am one of 7 dietitians on staff. So I would say that my schedule does vary pretty greatly compared to maybe the other dietitians. So to kind of break it down, we have 4 other full-time dietitians. Brooks is our director of football nutrition. So she works with football only. And then she has a sports nutrition fellow, and for the nutrition professions, that's an entry-level dietitian, which just means that you might not have worked independently with teams, just still need some kind of day-to-day guidance. But we have 2 dietitians that work with football. Ben Tarnowski, he's one of our sports dietitians. He works women's soccer and men's baseball. Sophia Mose works women's basketball, softball, and with our golf teams. Alika Pearson is with volleyball, gymnastics, and swim and dive. And then we actually have an open fellow position right now that I am hopefully filling in the next week. That individual will work with our tennis teams and then help me with our men's and women's track and field teams. But all that to say, I work day to day with track and field and men's basketball. And in addition to that, though, I am the director overall of nutrition. So a typical day is there's probably not a typical day for me. And that's probably one of the things I like most about my job is that I don't have redundancy in any way, shape, or form. So usually like a week like this, where we are in full force as far as cross country season goes, track season is in 20 hours, which means that they are practicing 5 to 6 days a week. And then men's basketball opens up our first exhibition game on Friday evening. I get to work between 7:30 and 8:30. I don't have like a set time I have to be at work. And usually my first few hours of the day are pretty office work or maybe administrative focused. So as part of my job, I do oversee our sports nutrition center. And so that means in our sports nutrition centers, and I hate to use the word cafeteria, but for the sake of explaining what it is, it's the cafeteria that our athletes eat in. And so I work very closely with our executive chef and our culinary team to make sure that everything we're offered up there is, supporting our student athletes. So whether that be menu planning, budget planning for that, working through staffing issues, stuff like that. Like my mornings are usually spent that way. I also work with a lot of athletes on a one-on-one basis. So up until this past year, so I'd say for about the last 3, maybe 4 years, probably 3 years, the only teams that I was working with was our track and field and cross country teams. And so because of that and the way that they compete and the way that they just quite frankly think, most of the work that I would do with those athletes was on a one-on-one basis. So meeting with them, talking about what their performance goals are, talk about what their nutrition habits are, and then as can be imagined, kind of bridging the gap because though I'm sure everybody in this room has perfect nutrition habits, most of our athletes do not. Yeah. And so just making sure that I'm supporting them and on an individual basis to make sure that they can be successful. Last year I reacquired men's basketball and they operate a little bit differently. I do a lot more team-based education with them. And that's probably just because they're more of a team-based sport and that's how they respond. But that's my typical mornings. Like, for instance, today, because I am on our athletic department's leadership team, I had a senior staff meeting this morning, yesterday morning. So on Tuesday mornings, I have a wellness team, which is our staff, athletic trainers, mental health, nutrition, and our PA that work with athletes with any sort of disordered eating concerns. So we meet on a weekly basis to discuss different groups of them. And then by 12:30, 1 o'clock, I'll usually start heading to some sort of practice. So again, I spend almost every afternoon either at track, or basketball practice, and then kind of going back and forth. Fortunately, those two facilities, at least when the track team is on the outdoor, I can walk in between. And so then I spend time there, again, making sure that I can get that face time with our athletes a little bit more, with our coaches, just the different support staff that are around our student athletes. And then on a typical day, then wrap up between 5 and 6 in that sense. As can be imagined, I am going to be spending a lot of evenings at work with basketball. So I do attend every men's basketball game. So that's home and away. And then the same thing goes for men's and women's track and field. I don't travel too much in the fall with cross country. At least this year, I don't plan to until we get to at least nationals. But then once track season hits, I will travel very regularly, if not all the time, with our track and field teams as well. So I spend a lot of time on the road. I do a lot of work from hotels, buses, planes, things like that. But again, you don't get into this job and want to have a desk job. I am all over the place.
Let me ask you a quick question. Given your role, is one of your mottos to all your staff, don't be at your desk very long, be accessible to the athlete?
Yes. So I have no I shouldn't say no expectations. I expect to see my staff. So one of the things, and this is more just the way that I operate as far as leadership, we tend to have younger staff members. Just nutrition is still a fairly new profession, kind of like athletic training. There's a decent amount of turnover, especially in the first 3 to 5 years as far as getting into the profession. And so because of that, every single one of my staff members has less than 5 years experience total. And so we do all have offices in one centralized location, except for our football dietitian. She has an office at football. And I did that intentionally so that when we are in our offices, which again, depending on the dietitian and when their teams practice, is usually sometime during the morning, maybe afternoons a little bit if their teams are off or it's just not the day that they're at practice. But yeah, the expectation is you're in your office a few hours a day at the most. And again, it's not to guard your office. That's just to then be in the building when you know our athletes are in the building. But most of us all have workstations or something in our respective team areas as well, so that we can, if we have time to get a little work done, great. But yes, we are much more effective if we are where our athletes are. And so again, that means practices, team areas, weight room sessions, things like that.
All right, let me kind of first start the first question, then the guys have plenty to ask you. One, what is we'll go to basketball. Now, basketball travel schedule is intense, especially when you get into conference. So let me ask you very simply, give me the most cost efficient, kids, we don't have obviously all the bells and resources that U of A does on it, but a very, like they're going to a game tomorrow, they're on a bus.
Mhm.
Give us a fueling strategy going there afterwards. It's a 2-hour bus ride up to Branson. So a fueling strategy, you need out throughout the weekend pregame.
So if we're on a bus trip, one, have some sort of meal, if you will, like when you report. And so one of the easiest things and probably cost-effective things is our sandwiches. So pick your favorite sandwich place, Jimmy John's, Pickleman's. We're a big Jersey Mike's crew for our men's basketball. And that would be something that we would have when the guys report to the facility before they even get on the bus. So for us, we do it like, we get on the bus and we go to the airport so we can hop on our flight. So we'll have Jersey Mike's ready to go at that point. Nice thing about basketball, maybe compared to track athletes, is most of our basketball student athletes, and I'm guessing is kind of the same for you guys, is you tend to have more issues keeping weight on versus maybe like track athletes. I'm constantly trying to manage their weight and stuff. And so we're not as particular on calories. I also try to make sure, and this is just general nutrition, I have a good balance of what me as the dietitian want our athletes to eat, but I also understand that if you don't like it, you're not going to eat it. So we work really hard to find that balance in that sense. And so we do a lot of Chick-fil-A, which don't judge me on that. If I had really my way, we wouldn't do it. But then we'll do Chick-fil-A at some point during the trip just to make sure that they're getting something that they like. But then as far as packing things along, one of my favorite things is peanut butter and jellies, or we do a lot of Uncrustables. They do pack a lot of punch as far as, somewhat healthy foods or food ingredients, especially if you did homemade peanut butter and jelly where you do whole wheat bread, good quality peanut butter, things like that. We do a lot of hand fruit or just even cut fruit. So bananas, apples, grapes, things like that are pretty portable. But again, getting a little bit of those micronutrients that I am generalizing, but college-aged individuals do not get enough of. We do a lot of smoothies. And those can get pricey, but at the same time, again, frozen fruit, yogurt, milk, and maybe some basic whey protein powder. As far as what a serving cost, the breakdown as far as cost per serving, and then the nutritional value that comes with that, that's something that I'm pretty in favor for as far as providing our student athletes. Once we get to the hotel or once we get on site and we're looking more at the pre-meal options or even the night before, we do just classic protein. We'll do a steak, chicken, and salmon at every single meal along with pasta and a potato. That tends to be what our athletes like the most. We're very bland as far as seasoning and sauces and stuff. As far as nutrition goes, that's the 24 hours out from a game isn't the time to necessarily be having, a lot of super spicy foods or a lot of heavy sauces that might not sit as well and stuff. And, we're really focusing on sleep the night before. So then we'll keep it basic, but also just good quality. And then we usually do another snack about 9:30 at night. And then that's going to be something again, like sandwiches. We do a lot of like Chipotle bowls, like the rice, protein, things like that. Or again, like sandwiches if for some reason we didn't have sandwiches earlier in the day. So we consume a lot of food. And I think I'm organizing some sort of food related event every 3 to 4 hours on any sort of road trip.
Now, that's on a road trip, would you say? But what about during the week? Like there's maybe 5 days in between a game and just in games and just practice.
Yeah. So most of our guys, I would say well over half, if not 3/4 of the team, they are in online classes. So they are not getting up too early in the morning. And so for me, that's a pretty positive thing in the sense that even though they're staying up a little bit later than I'd probably prefer, at least they're getting the sleep that their body needs on a daily basis. And so then the idea is that they should be coming to the Sports Nutrition Center late morning, early afternoon, so maybe by 11-ish. And at that point they can get either breakfast or lunch. And so in our Sports Nutrition Center, the favorites for the guys are, we have a made to order egg station, so they can get like omelets, scrambles, things like that. That's a win for me because then that's usually a way that I can get some extra protein in their nutrition. Usually I can get a vegetable or two in there. And then they're having fruit, toast, bagels, something like that with it. The other thing we have in there that they really like is a made to order sandwich station. So like I said, they're big sandwich guys. They can go and, pick your breads, meats, if they want it, cheese, toasted, untoasted, all of that. From there, most of the time we practice at 2:30 most days. And so then that means we usually have some sort of weights and or conditioning at 1 or 1:30. And so then that's where I'll meet the guys at the basketball facility because I'm big on vitamins, I'm big on certain supplements and stuff. And so we will do all their vitamins, which right now we are in a multivitamin, calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin C programming, and then creatine pre-weights. From there, then they go and usually get taped before practice at 2:30. And so then at that point, I'm still just walking around. Hey, did you eat this? Here's an Uncrustable. Here's a yogurt smoothie drink thing. Even if it's some of our guys that don't like to eat that much, here's a bag of pretzels, just to get something a little extra in their system. And then post-practice, which right now, I can't even lie, they are quite long right now as we get ready for these first few exhibition games. And so then we'll do recovery-based smoothies right after practice. And then, well, actually, right after practice, I do a collagen Gatorade concoction that they get pretty much as they're walking off the court. And then as they're in their kind of recovery mode, so within 30, 45 minutes, a recovery smoothie that's, frozen fruit, protein powder, liquid of choice based to make sure that they're getting those nutrients. And then they are probably 50-50. About half of them will go back to the nutrition center to eat dinner, and then half of them just will get food on their own.
All right, guys. You're up.
It's not anybody's thing. You gotta all be involved, so I'm cool with Karen's first. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Colton. I have a question. How much do you value carbs before games or practices or something?
Huge carb person. Obviously, basic nutrition knowledge, our basic information is that is our body's preferred fuel source when it comes to physical activity. And that is probably, again, like I already said, most of our basketball guys are at a minimum at a weight maintain goal. But again, most of them, I'd say probably at least 5 or 6 of them are on some sort of significant weight gain goal. And so in order for them to maintain the weight that they need to, I'm really pushing carbs, especially in those we bookend the workout more or less. So in that pre-workout, pre-competition window, you're trying to get at least I mean, at least 60 grams of carbohydrates, and that's on the lower end. You're probably looking at 90 to well over 100 grams of carbs. And if you can get that about 3.5 hours out from practice or a competition, that gives your body enough time to digest and not have it like actually sitting in your stomach. But then the other part too is that, and this isn't just carbs, but it's pretty much all of our guys, like I said, when we travel. In a perfect world, athletes of your caliber should be eating something every 3 to 4 hours. I'm going to make a very generalized statement, but most of you probably have the metabolism that people like me would kill for. And so what that means though is you're very lean individuals, and that means your resting metabolic rate is significantly faster than, your non-athlete counterpart. And then therefore just sitting there or just, basic daily activities, walking to class, going to and from your house, your apartment stuff, you're burning a lot of calories. And so for me, if every chance I can get every 3 to 4 hours, we're having some sort of carbohydrate source matched up with a little bit of protein as well.
Hey, so what's like a small snack that has like a lot of carbs that caught you off guard? They caught you off the cross.
A small snack, a lot of carbs. Banana, so like fruits. And I'm thinking like non-berry. I mean, berries have carbs in them too, but like bananas, apples, even like most dairy-based products. So if you had like a glass of like chocolate milk is, I know everybody in the athlete world's chocolate milk, but I mean, as far as like a carbohydrate and then the carbohydrate to protein ratio is actually pretty good. I'm a big yogurt advocate with our athletes. We tend to be a little bit more Greek yogurt focused, but the other side of it is like regular yogurt is also pretty high in carbohydrates, so that's great. I already said the peanut butter and jelly. If you want to even pack a little bit more punch, we actually do a lot of peanut butter and banana sandwiches to increase the carbs. And again, it's a fairly cheap snack. So again, our athletes, even though some of them are more financially set than others, no one wants to spend money on food. And so like those are good options for them. Even just the basic sandwiches, I'm pretty good there. Bagels, peanut butter, there's oatmeal. I love cereal too. Ideally, not the cereal we all really like, not the Lucky Charms of the world or the Captain Crunch, but having cereal with like a little bit like a Cheerios or cornflakes or something with some milk, that's a great high carb, low cost snack for people to have.
Hey, I'm Ty. I was wondering for the people that do have like slower metabolisms compared to the other ones, do you like limit their like value of intake, or is it kind of like the same?
Yes. So quick answer is yes. To follow up on both of their questions, though, usually the food that, or at least the macronutrient that I'm going to manipulate, though, is your carbohydrate intake. And so one, very seldom, no matter what sport you're participating in for that matter, I very seldom will reduce carbohydrate intake in the meal that's leading up to your competition or your practice. So most of our athletes practice in the afternoon, so I'll kind of just base my suggestions off that. Lunch is full carbs yet, so I'm not going to take away anything that could potentially inhibit the athlete's performance during that practice, because again, if you're not performing well in practice, then you're not going to compete game and all of that stuff. So, but then outside of that window, I might say, hey, at breakfast, knowing that you are less physically active during that morning window, therefore you don't necessarily need as much carbohydrates during that time, I might decrease the carbohydrates during that window. And more specifically, I'm going to probably decrease the starchy carbs that they consume. So for breakfast, it might be like the breads or the oatmeal, pancakes, things like that. Definitely not going to take away fruit. Definitely not going to take away dairy or veggies, but I would decrease maybe those starchy carbs during that window. Dinner is going to be very athlete specific. So that kind of recovery window after they get done training, yes, your body still needs some carbohydrates during that time. We do need to replenish all of the energy stores that your body burned off during practice. But again, we might decrease those slightly, knowing that they're not burning as much as maybe their teammates.
So going off of that, like if they didn't have a lot of like energy in that day, like what do you do? Because I know like some people, like if they don't have a lot of energy, they take like a 5 hour or like a Monster or like anything like that.
Mhm.
But what would you do? Because I know that Monsters aren't great for you. So.
Yeah. So one, this is probably going to sound very counterproductive to what I just said. My first question is, I'm going to ask, did you eat something though? Oftentimes when our athletes are sluggish is that they're not eating enough, whether that be carbohydrate, usually it's carbohydrates, but just in general, they haven't necessarily eaten enough during that time frame or the window leading up to it. I am pretty pro caffeine, but caffeine in very controlled amounts. So if you were one of our athletes, I am not so keen on most energy drinks. To be honest, I'm not. I know the concept of energy drinks. I don't know all the different ones that are out there. But you know, I would say just have a little coffee or something. Like have something that's a pure source of caffeine, not supplements, not energy drinks. We want to know the quantity that we're having. But then along with that window, so if you're going into a practice, you're feeling kind of sluggish, you know, you have a little coffee, you also need to have a snack with that too. So you need to have a source of carbohydrates with that stimulant. So what caffeine does is it's, in a very simplistic way to explain it, it increases your central nervous system. So it increases your body's like firing system as far as the ability to probably transport the energy that's in your bloodstream or glucose. But if you don't eat, if you don't have any fuel like actually in your blood, you're shooting blanks. Like you're going to transport more blood, but there's nothing in that blood to actually fuel those working muscles. So a little caffeine is okay. Caffeine in controlled amounts is fine, but that's where making sure that you're actually getting enough food during that time frame to lead up to that. And then the other selfish plug is I'm always talking sleep too. I know that's not necessarily the dietitian's primary focus, but if our bodies aren't recovering, so if you're not getting adequate amounts of sleep and adequate amounts of quality sleep at night, our bodies aren't going to recover the next day. And then that's when we feel, our athletes will say, I feel heavy, I feel sluggish, whatever. It's our muscles, our bodies just aren't ready to go yet.
So you're saying that the less food you take would mean the more like caffeine you should consume,
No.
or is
I'm
the
saying that
opposite?
we find the balance. So yes, at some point, sorry, I thought your initial question was more about maybe trying to lose weight, not necessarily energy systems. One, we need to make sure you're consuming enough carbohydrates in conjunction with a small amount of caffeine is okay.
Gotcha.
What's your favorite part of your job? What do you enjoy doing most?
I like the diversity in my job. I like working with student athletes. Even before I reacquired men's basketball, one of the reasons I love track and field the most is you get every single personality possible on a track and field team. So you get, you know, and I won't stereotype different events and stuff, but you get more quiet athletes, you get more disciplined athletes, you get more personalities from them. And then with that, they all have very different nutrition needs. You know, a sprint focused athlete is going to or should approach nutrition pretty differently than like a distance based athlete versus a thrower. And so I like the differences that I get to see every day. I also, I mean, I like the drive. One of the reasons that I went the athletics route versus, you know, maybe more of a clinical role in nutrition or whatever, is athletes are motivated individuals. Not saying that every athlete that I meet with does exactly what I say. That's nowhere near that. But y'all have a different drive that most people don't have, and you're motivated. And so selfishly, from a nutrition standpoint, when I come into the room and I say, hey, if you do this, this, and this, your performance is going to be better or should be better, you at least process that in a way like she can help me. She understands my world, she gets it. And so I appreciate the process of being an athlete and supporting them kind of behind the scenes. And then seeing them and our teams, you know, be successful.
Real quick, offshoot to that, kind of give us the challenges and successes you've had dealing with international athletes, especially track and field, I would assume, but like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where do you see your biggest challenges there and successes with dealing with them?
Well, one, food preferences are tough. So, you know, for instance, on our track and field team, or more specifically on our distance teams, we have a lot of athletes that come from different countries in Africa. And so the foods that they are used to consuming, and quite frankly, foods that they're used to consuming that have caused them to be very successful athletes is very different than what we provide in the US. As we are all probably aware, our food tends to be not as healthy, not as clean, not as whatever. And so there's usually a learning curve as far as, what foods they, and I don't want to say are willing to eat, because it's not when they're not willing to eat something, it's not because they're like trying to be defiant or like trying to just say like, Carla, I don't care. It's just, adjusting to consuming new foods is tough. It affects your body, affects your GI system. And so we go through a lot of learning curves there and figuring out what foods work for them, what foods they want to eat. But then also kind of keeping it in check that when they do start eating American-based food, that some of it's really good, but it's not necessarily very healthy for you. And so balancing out that kind of mindset too and how they approach it. A lot of times a lot of our athletes who are international athletes have more maybe religious focused nutrition goals or restrictions for that matter. So we have a lot of athletes that, or I shouldn't say a lot, but maybe don't do pork, whether they're Muslim or other religious affiliations. So we adjust for that too, as far as like, I don't eat these types of foods, or I don't eat, certain ingredients and food and stuff. So that is, again, but no different than our US based athletes. It's about getting to know the athlete, getting to know what his or her like personal preferences are, and then adapting what I do to make sure that I'm supporting them individually. So we have a fair share, but it works out for us.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, it's been times like I had games and I know I got like 8+ hours of sleep, and I know I woke up and had a breakfast that morning before the game or had something in my system to eat, and I'd be in the game and I don't know if it's come from how hard I'm playing or I'm a high motor athlete or how much I'm moving around on the court. I always tend to cramp up like real bad. Like I drink alkaline water and all that type of stuff, but I still tend to cramp up a lot. Like when I'm doing a lot on the court, no matter how much I sleep or what I eat. So I just wanted to see if you had a tip on what I should do, like to help with that, or what I should eat to help with that.
Well, one, for our athletes that are like heavy sweaters and then therefore tend to be more consistent crampers, hydration starts the day before. And so at that point, like for instance, whether it be the night before dinner or even the practice, if it's a home game the day before, I'm already giving our guys like either Pedialyte packets, I'm not gonna say I don't care between the different brands. Again, this is something like whatever the athletes will actually consume. Here you go. So between Pedialyte packets, Liquid IV, we do like Gator Lights. That needs to start the day before. So like think about like practice the day before, you should probably get like an extra packet of something in your system before you even ate dinner. Depending on, how bad your sweating is, what your evening looks like the night before, you should maybe even get a second packet in your system before that point. And then we will start something right away the next morning as well. So making sure that they get something with breakfast. We pack like bottles of Gator Light with us on the road so that they have something and they're starting to get it in their system. The best way to prevent cramping is to make sure that you're getting the electrolytes in your system consistently throughout the day leading up to it too. It shouldn't be like, let's chug like a couple drinks right beforehand, but making sure you're getting all your electrolytes into. So I don't know if you have access to Pedialyte packets are like $1 a piece. I think Liquid IVs just as cheap maybe. Otherwise just adding a little bit extra salt to your food too. So that's the other thing is we teach them is that, if you're having eggs in the morning at breakfast, which most of our guys will have every single game day, just add a little extra salt with your eggs. Or, if you're eating pasta, add some salt to there. And then we'll always have like pretzels and goldfish on the bench. So you'll see our guys having those like during the game as well. And then we do some magnesium supplementation. Research is still kind of happening with that, but we found some success with our athletes that are heavy crampers. Consistently taking magnesium before they go to bed at night has helped with some of the ongoing concerns.
So my last question was like you said, you would pour it in and you would take it. So right before practice, I have a Liquid IV. and I put it either in a bottle of water or a Gatorade and drink it like right before practice. I'm not supposed to do that.
That could be kind of like the last thing you do. So, what I'd probably recommend though is probably adding another one throughout the morning. What time do you practice? I guess I should ask.
We practice at like 2:30 every day.
Yeah, so what I would do is then also have one like throughout the morning. So if you're carrying like a water bottle with you to class and all that, have one throughout the morning that you're just like sipping. And so it's kind of getting into your system a little bit slower. And then the one right before practice is like to top things off.
What about the
And
day
then-
before, Carla?
Again, I would do the same thing. Like most of our athletes, they consume at least one packet of a Pedialyte liquid IV. We do some LMNT, but that sodium is actually pretty high. That's one where we actually hand those to the athletes. You don't just grab those just because the sodium, like I said, is high. But I would say it should just be built into your system that you start having them the day before too.
My last question was, do you know any good fruits or like food that like help prevent inflammation or take inflammation out of the body?
I am a huge cherry juice fan. So every single one of our locker rooms, fueling stations, weight rooms, all have tart cherry juice in them. And so tart cherry juice is a very potent anti-inflammatory, like naturally. And then we also have some products that have the protein in it. So for me, it's a 1-2 punch as far as inflammation and recovery. But if you could get your hands on some tart cherry juice, that's probably my favorite. And then any sort of like berries are pretty potent in the polyphenol side of things. But cherry juice is the big one that we use.
They promote mostly venous return or artery distribution?
Say that again, Jeff?
Does that promote most venous return or just total blood flow?
I would go more blood flow, more on the blood flow side of it.
Oh, what's a good calorie count for like your average athlete? I would say, like, what's a good range?
These are baseball players that are talking to you now.
Okay, a good range. I'm gonna go male athlete, roughly 6 foot, so maybe go 5'10", 6'1", 200-ish pounds. I mean, you're looking at least 3,500 calories a day, and that's probably even on the lower range. So usually what I start out with is I don't usually focus just on like how many calories you should have. I usually break it down with like your macros. And so like, again, if my weight numbers are way off, let me know, but I'm also really bad at math, so bear with me. So I'm gonna go 200. So if you're a 200-pound athlete, generally speaking for our male strength/force focused athletes, so baseball, basketball for that matter, we're looking at almost a 1-to-1 ratio of grams of protein per day per your body weight. So again, if you're a 200-pound athlete, you should be getting maybe not 1-to-1, but at least 180 grams of protein every single day, which is a lot. And then the idea is kind of going back to my initial statement that you should be eating every 3 to 4 hours. If you break down 180 that over 6 meals or 6 meal snacks, however you kind of want to break it together, that's about 30 grams per meal. And that's about what the body can adequately digest at any given time. From there, I usually then go next to carbs. So for every gram of protein that you consume, you should have a minimum, and let's see if I'm doing my math right, at least 3 to 4 grams of carbohydrates. Let me see if I can do my math while I'm sitting here. The nice part about me is I have a program that does this all for me. So, so it's 720. And then I said at least 4 times 180. Let me back up. 180 times 4 times 4 is another 2. Yep. So that's about 2,880 grams, or excuse me, calories and carbohydrates. And then from there, you're looking at probably at least another 100 to 130 grams of fat per day. So again, that should get us right around to probably 3,500, maybe a little bit more than that. But yeah, I'd say that's probably a good starting point. When you're in season, physically active the way you guys are, the range is probably minimum 3,500, but probably could range up to 4,000, even maybe low, 4,200 calories.
What'd you say the carbs were again?
So carbohydrates, my baseline for athletes like you is 4 grams for every pound body weight. So again, if you're a 200-pound athlete, that's 800, wait, 200 times 4. Yeah, 800 grams of carbohydrates, which means that that's 3,200 calories. So what I will say is most athletes don't eat enough, especially our male athletes. And so when I'm like doing actual nutrition plans for them and breaking that down, when I end up showing them like, hey, this is what you need to be eating a day, there's usually like because they're not used to eating that much. Most of our athletes, even the ones that I work with pretty extensively, if they had their way, they would eat 2 meals a day and maybe like 1 recovery-based snack, like after practice. And those are the habits we're kind of trying to change, and getting a good breakfast, good lunch, good dinner, and then snacks in between.
I have a question on recovery snacks. Getting off the floor at a basketball game or a baseball game, we got a big bus drive home. You know, what recovery immediate would you recommend that they can put in their backpacks?
Do we have coolers? Can we pack little like lunchbox coolers in there? Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I think I already mentioned this one, but we do
Sorry
a
about that.
lot of peanut butter and jelly and Uncrustables. That's a big thing that we keep in pretty much, again, every fueling station, our nutrition center, things like that. Yogurt. We do a lot of yogurt cups and like yogurt, like protein drinks in our fueling stations. Again, you'd probably need to have like a cooler with you to keep that cold. Single serve cheese, like string cheese or like the little Baby Bell things or something like that is something we keep everywhere. Going kind of off the peanut butter and jelly type thing, if you don't want like the bread, but like pretzels and peanut butter, or like pretzels and hummus, or crackers and hummus. Hummus is a great, cheaper protein source, fairly portable. Obviously, it does need to stay refrigerated to some extent. Any simple sandwich, again, is really good. I feel like I'm forgetting trail mix. So yes, you can buy trail mix like at the gas station, but what we usually recommend is actually just like making your own. So you kind of pick whatever, like peanut or nut or whatever is your kind of choice there. Dried fruit, or maybe like chocolate chips, dark chocolate chips. And then oftentimes we'll put like pretzels or like cereal in them to get the carbohydrate source. So like a handful of trail mix usually can punch, or give you a pretty good punch. We do a lot of and I feel like this is very dietitian cliche, but like the oatmeal peanut butter chocolate chip like energy ball type things. Those things, again, have a lot of nutrients in them. You can mess with the flavors a little bit to, maybe if you want M&Ms or you want fruit, or if you want almond butter versus peanut butter, you can make those in advance. We do a lot of beef jerky, turkey jerky, like varying options of that. Trying to think what I put in all the snack bags. We do individual like peanuts, cashews, almonds, pistachios. I mean, we put some like protein bars and stuff in there, but our athletes tend to not like those as much.
Which jerky do you usually get? Like, yeah, which jerky do you usually get? Like, because I know there's like certain ones that are better than the others. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those that I don't get too picky on, like being, because I know you can get like cleaner options or like less preservatives and stuff. Our athletes really we buy Jack Links a lot. We do a lot of Think jerky. So that's one that I can buy wholesale. I mean, Sam's Club has like little ones, or I think it's Archer. So again, I don't know if it's like actually the best quality, but it tastes pretty good. And so that's, again, some of my battles of it tastes good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I have a whole thing of Slim Jims in the men's basketball locker room too. They'll eat them. So for me, that's more calories. So that works. On the bench, I think, Jeff, you kind of asked about that. I am very flexible in-game nutrition, in the sense of what will they eat, I will have on the bench for you. So we have everything. Last year's go-to was watermelon Sour Patch Kids. And I would every single game have a bag this big, and that's what would be in those little cups I'm passing out. But we like fruit snacks. So we do a lot of Gushers. We do the basic Welch's. Rice Krispie treats are another one that they like on the bench and will actually eat. And again, the idea is that they just take a few bites kind of every time they sit down. Again, I'll have pretzels because a few of our guys that are crampers, that is something that they like. And then applesauce is another pretty easy one that a lot of athletes go to, especially the squeeze pouches. You can kind of take them on the go. I feel like I'm missing another one. Goldfish crackers. We're big into the Bobos right now. So like the peanut butter and jelly Bobos. Everyone loves those.
So Carla, tell me a good top 5 bench list for basketball, games, snacks. Your
So
top
right
5.
now, yep, I have to have Gushers. I have to have Rice Krispies. I have to have pretzels. I have to have, like last year again, we did Sour Patch Kids. That hasn't been requested yet this year. I don't always keep them on the bench, but in the locker room, I will have bananas. So when they go in at halftime, and then what are the other ones right now? I have Pringles in the locker room too. So again, if a salty snack. And then the other part is we have all the hydration stuff on the bench. So I have every single form of Pedialyte, Liquid IV, pickles, pickle shots, all of that on the bench.
So you said bananas and Pringles at halftime?
Mhm.
For the salt.
Little Bites. That's actually the other one. Little Bites. Like I don't even know the brand. Yeah, they want the birthday cake and chocolate chip Little Bites. Like that's everywhere too.
And you pretty much let them have, ad litem in terms of on the bench snacks. Whenever they want them, they go get them.
Yep. That's if that's again kind of what you guys have alluded to. Like they need all the help they can get during a game to just continually get that constant simple sugar source. And so if they want candy, I'll have candy. That's fine. I think last year at one point we did the Nerds clusters. Those weren't as popular, and I like the Sour Patch Kids. There's no science to this, but that would cause them to drink more. The sour, the pucker would make them drink. So I was like, whatever, it's a win-win. So
How much water would you recommend a day?
So similar, it's actually similar to the protein thing. This is kind of a generic response, but it's an easy thing that our athletes can remember. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 ounce for every pound of body weight you are. And that usually can get our athletes to cover even most of practices or training. So again, if you're a 180-pound person, you need to have 180 ounces, and I have a water bottle like that, which means that you need to have at least 10 of these every single day. Yeah, and no one drinks enough either. Yeah, and then so one of our things with our athletes too is like, I should never see you without some sort of water bottle or some sort of beverage holder, whatever the fad thing is. Everybody is, are we still in Stanley's or we're in Odwalla's or whatever we are now? You should have something with you at all times. And the best way then to stay hydrated over the course of the day is to just be continuously sipping too. Every 15, 20 minutes, have an ounce or 2 of water type thing. So then when you get to practice, the idea is that you're fully hydrated. Oftentimes people will forget to drink, and then they all of a sudden just start chugging a bunch of water right before practice, and then they have to pee every 10 minutes during practice. And you're like, yeah, that's not staying in your system.
So continuous sipping throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that sour candy would help you drink more water? I know you said there's no science, but like,
yeah,
I mean,
that's
it makes
my
sense.
experience. Again, I would not do a research study on it, but that little bit of sourness made them more inclined to drink. And so for me, again, that's where sometimes being a dietitian and working with athletes is meeting them where they're at, and taking advantage of the little wins. And again, the Sour Patch Kid side of it is during activity or during times of high activity, more simple the fuel source, the better. So AKA candy is actually, not bad of an option during that window because your body can break it down fairly quickly and then it gets the sugars to your working muscles ideally. Now, where I struggle with our athletes is they'll have that during the game, but then at night they eat $10 worth of candy from the whatever. And I'm like, okay, can we balance that out a little bit?
So as a dietitian, do you actually stay true to most diets? Like, do you really like focus on your diet, or is it more just like, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, I eat fairly healthy. And
Right.
not because I guess probably because I'm a dietitian because, and I usually wouldn't like say this to an athlete, but I also don't want to be like, I'm also almost 40 and don't want to be fat. So like, I also just like, same thing with our athletes is like, I make choices because I know that that's what I should do. So like I don't follow like a regimented nutrition plan or anything. Like cognitively, I just probably have a mindset that like I walk into a meal opportunity or I, like, okay, I'm planning my meals for this week. I just know like there are certain things that I need to like, for lack of a better way, I need to check certain boxes. Am I getting enough fruits and veggies every day? Am I getting enough protein over the course of the day and consistently? So I probably like it's a combination of being a dietitian, general lifestyle, whatever. I just tend to eat healthier. But then the idea is that because I eat healthier normally, then when I don't want to eat healthy, I don't. Because, if I'm going out to dinner or I'm whatever, I know that, well, I'm pretty structured normally. So it allows for that flexibility during the windows that I don't want to be flexible or want to be flexible.
I saw a kid go down with like muscle cramps or like calf cramps. Like that's mainly what I have. Like I mainly cramp in my calves during the game, and then like after the game or after practice or whatever I was doing in my sleep, I like catch a Charlie horse in my quads or whatever. But I saw a kid, he get a lot of sour Skittles. Like to help with
Same concept. Now, mind you, though, that the sour Skittles are not going to give you any sort of electrolytes, though. They're just going to make to me, it stimulates your thirst mechanism for us. But again, that's where making sure that you're being proactive with the electrolytes going into it. And then again, if you're someone that's consistently, I would try the magnesium at night. And again, make sure it's magnesium glycinate, not like the milk of magnesia stuff, but like magnesium supplements. Some of our athletes have been fairly successful with that. And the idea of taking it before you go to bed, at least the research that I've seen, is that magnesium does play a role in overall like just muscle contraction relaxation. And so having it before you go to bed it doesn't affect directly your circadian rhythms, but it's supposed to have some kind of similar.
Yeah.
Did I say that wrong?
No, I was making sure they knew what that term meant, and they said yes.
Oh, yeah.
Circadian rhythm, okay.
Other question?
We do have two baseball players in here. Typical baseball player, the sport itself, is not it's not a high intensity sport. I mean, they have a lot of downtime and given them in and out the bench, travel's kind of extensive. What would be your top three advice nutrition wise, if they're different than we've told us for baseball, given their sport?
I think planning, now I think every athlete should plan ahead, but I think baseball is one of those sports where having a plan ahead of time is going to be very beneficial. So I say that to say like, it probably depends on like if you're a pitcher versus maybe an infielder, and then pitcher, are you an opener or closer? Forgive me, I don't do baseball daily. I would plan ahead though. So like, okay, at the third inning, this is what I'm going to have. Sixth inning, this is what I'm going to have. Again, that way, then you can ensure, because baseball games are long. And then by the time you report, and then when the actual game starts, that's a couple hours. The games are a couple hours, depending on when you're going on the field. Make sure that you have things with you that you can have during various times. That the hydration is pretty key. I think that's one of those sports where people really do forget hydration because again, there's short bursts of high intensity based movement, but then there's a lot of kind of like, I don't want to say chill time, but less physically active moments. And therefore, I think people forget to actually hydrate during that time, or that your body is sweating, you're outside, you're in elements that you can't control. And so being a little bit more proactive on hydration, electrolytes from that standpoint. But then also with the planning ahead, it helps to eliminate the mindless eating. I know for our guys, we have, a whole snack shelf, right behind or right inside the tunnel from the dugout. And then a lot of times when you're just standing around chilling, that's when you start doing the mindless eating or the mindless snacking. I'm gonna go grab a goldfish. Now I'm gonna go grab some fruit snacks. Now I'm gonna whatever. And give or take what your weight goals are, those calories can add up fairly quickly as well. And then sometimes we get to the point where, halfway through the season and maybe you're not playing as much. We are actually now on a different weight goal because now they're putting on a little bit of weight during that time.
Guys, do you have any last questions for Carla? All right, Carla, well, listen, thanks so much. This has been great. Like I said, this course is a health professions course. We've got RD, PT, OT, RN, AT. We're also going to be licensed in LPC, dental hygienist, things of that nature. But I think this obviously is more applicable to, because all of our students here are athletes that I can see it.
That's
There's
awesome.
really, maybe 3 or 4 that are regular college students. And about 120 of us. So anyway, I want to thank you again. Hope you're doing well. I do get to get this weekend, not next week, but next coming weekend, we have our big scholarship run for the AT program. It's our 20th year
Oh, wow.
celebration, and I'm kind of excited about it. Anyway, hope things are well, and like I said, I'll see you around the hill, but these guys are very appreciative. Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Let me go ahead and deal with this. Okay, guys, so you know what the expectation for this one is, you're right up, make sure you get it to me. Next week, I believe we have a licensed professional counselor, person who does with mental health. And what their role is, what an LPC does and what areas you can go into. You can have your own clinic, you can have, they have LPCs right on the athletic department there. I mean, obviously, because this mental health is, it's everywhere, it's like people go through life, it's just, and then the LPCs there actually do performance as well as general mental health. They always want to see how well, if we can intervene mental health wise, would that increase the performance, So that the person we'll have is really good. He is a graduate of here. And then I'm also the following going to have, Tim Garber, the performance, he's a performance clinical psychologist. He also has an athletic background, but he also did with mental health. And what an LPC does, licensed professional counselor guys it's a 3-year degree at the graduate level. You have your licensed healthcare provider. Yeah. All right, guys. What was up with practice today, right?
Traffic. Traffic, got back there.
Have you not leave with the ice with Mila?
I left like probably 5 minutes after.
Go the same path with these,
I always make that road change. Too.
you know the back road? Okay, well,
Agency.
we'll teach them, okay. All right, Christian, let me look at your ankle real quick. Okay, you need to get taped when you need to get your ankle taped. Okay, when you're there. And you go you'll have a medical bag, and I'm gonna ask you to be the caretaker of the medical bag. You'll have doctor name on the bag, and I'll give it to coach tomorrow. So you're responsible for it. If you would do that for me, please make sure it gets there, it's on the bench, and it gets back to my office the next day.
Do I need to come grab it?
Yeah, probably, yeah. I'll have it packed. It'll be outside the training room door. I have class tomorrow from 8:30 to 10:30.
Mhm.
And then I'll have it outside. You can grab it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you for doing
Okay.
that. All right, guys.
No problem.
Hold on, let me look at your ankle, Christian. What's that? Let me make that good decision. I just want to look in. Let me make that decision. Okay? I know when you guys start thinking about your medical health, let me give you another insight. Hold on a second. Where's those 3 buttons? Oh, there. Recording.